Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author, and certified self-leadership trainer with the John Maxwell team, Dom Brightman. And this is the podcast where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new tip of inspiration or information or even motivation every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North Podcast. And we got one heck of a guest for you today, folks. Something out of the ordinary for this show, because today's guest, my goodness, multiple certifications, y'all. Multiple certifications, a Jill of all trades. Because today's guest in particular, certified tarot master, certified psychic, trained medium, as well as an ordained non-denominational minister. And this wonderful guest right here has close to 50 years of experience, whose abilities include spiritual/intuitive counseling, past life retrieval and analysis, mediumship, and spirit guide conference speaker as well. And this wonderful lady right here is one heck of a powerhouse. Let's give it up for the one, the only CM herself, Miss Corbie Mitleid. How you doing today, Corbie?
Rocking and rolling, my friend. How are you?
Doing fabulous, doing fabulous. It's kind of interesting how this giant magnet of a podcast just attracts random, super special, awesome humans, and here you are. It's like funny enough, like freaking 7 years ago. Oh God, maybe 10 years ago. That's probably a closer number. It'd be like tarot, or tarot. It's like I wouldn't even entertain that. But it's like now in this age of information and learning everything, it's like, you know what? She's got a lot of important things to say, and she's lived one heck of a fabulous life that's still got many more years to come.
Amen on that one. Luckily, these days, people do not think of us as a bunch of Swami Swalandas and Madame Hoo-Has. There's logic and psychology behind a lot of what we do. So we're a little bit more accepted. Is there still stuff we can't explain? Yeah, me too. But, I work 6 days a week. I read 1,000 people a year. I've done it for 20 years. I have to know a little something.
Oh yeah, and probably a whole lot of something at this rate, because my goodness, 1,000 people a
Hmm.
year. Any idea what your personal best for a year is thus far?
Oh, Lord. I think that January and February are always the best month because everybody says, "Oh my God, I need to know what the year is going to be." And months like that, yeah, I will read about 100 people, 120. And it's just, open to close, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So my goodness, so what keeps you going at that high level of productivity and performance?
I get a reader's high. You know, in order to be a good intuitive counselor, which is the very fancy name for psychic medium, you have to put your ego on the shelf. It's as John Holland, who is a very famous medium, says, "You're just the tube. It isn't you. You are in service. And as long as you remember that, you will do a good job." And it's true because when I am sitting with a client, it's not about me, it's about them. It's about the answers they need, it's about the closure they want, it's about the empowerment that I can give them. And so when you're totally focused on your client, you're not thinking about you, you're not thinking about your problems, you're not thinking about your chores, you're not thinking about anything but how can I give this person tools to make their lives better? And that's about as good high test gas as you can get.
Yeah, that's right. As some say, helping others get that rocket pack on their back, right?
Exactly so.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. So my goodness, so what led you to becoming so curious in all these different areas to where you are now? Because my goodness, like seems like you grew up with this higher level of curiosity than your average human.
Oh, well, that's my 30-second elevator speech. When I was 9, I read a children's book called The Witch Family, and I thought, oh, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. Fast forward to 1973, when I was a senior in high school. And yes, that tells you how old I am. I was working part-time at Spencer Gifts. And that was the year that Live and Let Die came out with Jane Seymour as Solitaire, the card reader. So they had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your fringe jacket and your deck. Now, 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. Me, I was still reading the cards. I found them fascinating, and I loved the stories that they would tell. So for 20 years, I read for friends, keeping my ego on the shelf, out of the way. All of a sudden in 1994, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when I figured that the universe handed me my draft notice and said, greetings, you're working for us. So that's when I hung out my shingle part-time. Meanwhile, very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for graphic novels, executive recruiter. But the psychic work was always on the side. 9/11, as my husband and I watched the towers burn, I said to him, I need to do the psychic work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So for 1 year, I still worked 70 hours a week as an executive recruiter, did the psychic work on the side, evenings and weekends. When I knew I could make a living at it, I closed the door on corporate work, and I've never looked back. And now I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's the biggest difference in the world.
Ah, yeah. And a huge, big difference indeed. That's right. You get to get up. You don't have to get up. Like, it's just those simple words, which is to change your philosophy right there, to change those words and that philosophy. Because folks are like, oh, God, I have to get up. Oh, I have to go to this work. Oh, I have to pay these bills. Oh, I have to go through this darn traffic again. It's like, darn, can we go back to April 2020 driving right wise when nobody was on the road?
I know, the year of murder hornet bingo and hold my beer. No, we have to move forward. We have to move forward. But 2019 is as gone forever as 1913 was after World War One. The world is never going to be like it was before COVID. We have found out what people are really like. We have found out what we are really like and how the world needs to change. So the question now is, do you support the world in its change, or do you get mulish and say, no, I want what I want and I don't care what it costs? It's time for us to wake up.
Ah, that's right. You can definitely say that again, indeed. And you've had so many changes over your life, but the one main thing is this wonderful psychic career on the side. It's really the full time thing now. So, what has helped you to really deal with all the changes that's just happened in your life and that's still really going to keep happening?
Well, I live what I call the examined life. What does that mean? That means things will happen to you that you cannot avoid. The big things in my life, I did the cancer dance 3 times. Now, why don't I say I'm a survivor? Well, when you say I fought cancer, what you fight fights back. And a survivor, you think about someone hanging on by teeth and toenails. I don't do that. So I call myself a cancer dancer. I found out how graceful I could be under pressure, avoided getting my toes stepped on, and got off the dance floor in one piece. And so when you live the examined life, you see what's going on. You may not like it, but you say, what do I need to learn from this? And for me particular, now how can I teach with it? And then you go next. A lot of people, if they have cancer, that's the first thing. Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I had cancer. That's like my saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and in 10th grade, I played Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker. That was then. This is now. I loved being on stage when I was in 10th grade. That's when I really knew I wanted to major in theater at college. But that's not who I am now. The cancer is not who I am now. I am whole, healthy, happily married, with lots to share with the world. Why would I dwell on something that I didn't like instead of what I do? The other thing I tell people is you got to find a reason to laugh at it. You just do. Um, the doctors told me, remember, I'd only been married a year and a half. All right, we're going to take you from this Dolly Parton figure, literally put brunette wig on, I like Dolly Parton figure, to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects in 3 weeks. Double mastectomy, strip you of all your hormones because that's the kind of cancer you have. Suck it up. You know, it's the personality of turnips. So I went home and I cried for 24 hours. But then I said, I don't care how stupid the reasons sound. I need to find 3 reasons to be okay with it. And I said, okay, first thing is you don't have them. You can't get cancer there. Number two, the top half is not going to get slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year. And every woman listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. Third, implants. Okay, I'll be perky till I'm 93. I can deal with it. I got out of Mass General in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit in 5. Yes, I believe in allopathic medicine, but it's also what's in the brain pan. It's your attitude that makes your altitude. It's what makes the difference. And that's part of what living the examined life gives you, a whole new set of tools. You're not a victim, you're a volunteer.
Mm, wow. Dang, that's a powerful one right there. That's right. That's right. She's bringing the heat, baby. That's right. She is bringing the heat. You are not a victim. You're a volunteer. That's right. That's right. And sometimes the universe will volunteer you.
Hmm. But at the same time, people say, well, do you wish you didn't have it? I'd be a different person. Everything I've gone through, 3 bouts of breast cancer, 2 divorces, the death of my parents, has made me a more compassionate counselor. Someone who has had a charmed life and their aura don't stink, as it says, they're not going to understand someone who has lost their parents to COVID. They're not going to understand if their child comes home and says, I was raped, but I don't even know who it was. And I was drunk. These are devastating circumstances. And you have got to have gone through the fire yourself in some form to be able to reach out in true compassion, because there's a difference between pity and compassion. Pity is what happens when you see the run over squirrel on the highway. Oh, that poor thing. Compassion is I am you. There, but for the grace of God, go I. And that is when you reach the depths of your humanity and you reach out and you say to the other person, I see you, I hear you, and I will help you find a way through this. Biggest difference in the world.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So we know one of the C's in Corbie stands for compassionate, y'all. That's right. That's right.
That's what my
Compassion.
last name stands for, Tom. Mitleid is the German word for compassion. It's a chosen last name, and it reminds me why I do my work.
Ah, funny enough, I forgot that was in my notes.
That's all right, darling. I picked it up for you.
Oh man. Funny enough, another question I had in my notes. It was on the pod a match page. This wonderful
Yes.
question is, what is a drive-by psychic shooting?
Oh, that you're hitting my hot button, baby. A drive-by psychic shooting. Unfortunately, because of things like the Long Island medium, people think you're supposed to do that, and you're not. It's the height of ego and bad business practice, frankly. It's when you're going shopping at Wegmans. That's my favorite grocery store. And there you are looking in the frozen pizzas, and someone walks up to you and says, excuse me, I have a message for you from your Aunt Doris. Your back tire, it's bald. You're going to die in a week if you don't get it fixed. Just telling you. And they walk away. Who the hell is that? And who gave that person permission to barge into your space? But the reason people think that's normal is because of how reality shows work. They see the Long Island medium pull that kind of crud on camera, but that's not how it works because it's not legal. First, she sends her team and they investigate a whole bunch of local grocery stores and they pick one that looks good. Then they start talking to people who go shopping there. Would you be interested? Blah, blah, blah. And they find 3 or 4 they think would really be good on camera, and they have them sign a photo and model release, and they set up the cameras, and it happens 4 or 5 times until they get a good shot. My husband ran a Revolutionary War museum, for 23 years. At one point, since the building's the 18th century, ghost hunters came on. And, that's the group from Rhode Island and blah, blah, blah. Well, they're not. They had a whole bunch of California vans, and someone came and slapped the Rhode Island license plates on them and said, "All right, pull out, take one, come back." So, no, a drive-by psychic shooting is somebody who wants to try to give you a psychic message. You don't know them, you haven't asked for it, and they're going to barge in anyway. And I am telling you, my friends, you have a right to say to them, "I don't want your message. I'm refusing it. I don't know who you are. Get out of my face." And if they don't, then you go to the manager, because that's harassment. There's a very, very famous spiritual community called Lilydale in Western New York, and they have superb mediums there. But they know you never do that. You would come up and you might say, "My name is Reverend Shirley, and I'm from Lilydale. It's a spiritualist community. I believe I have a message for you. May I come to you?" And if you say yes, they'll give you the message. And if they don't, if you say no, they'll nod and they'll walk, because that's what you do. Otherwise, the psychic is saying, "My ego is more important than your comfort." Remember what I said. That's not compassion, it's ego. So that's what a drive-by psychic shooting is, guys. You have permission to tell them where to stick it. You really do.
That's right. Keep the gun in the holster, y'all.
Mhm.
That's one heck of a visual. And it's so right, and it's good that you're basically have ethical business practices, because a lot of folks may try to go the unethical route just to gain some influence or even some money when it's not even worth it.
That's why I refer to the ones as the Madam Hoo-Has and the Swami Swalandas. One of the things people always ask me is, well, how do you choose a good psychic? And that's why I wrote the book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road. But the short answer is, let's say that there's a big spiritual expo at a convention center near you, and there's 100 booths, and you don't know anybody from Adam's House Cat. Well, what you have to do is you have to be a good puppy. The first thing you have to do is you do your walkies. You walk in and you go around and you just look at all the booths and listen. Don't have to talk to anybody. See what you pick up. Second is you go and get paper trained. What does that mean? That means that we all have flyers or rack cards with information. And if somebody looks interesting, you go and pull some of the information, and then you go and you sit down and you look at some of this stuff. 3 or 4 people will probably look good to you. Then you go and talk to them. And if they're busy, you talk to their front person. But remember, I could tell you I'm wonderful, and that doesn't count. And we hire our front people to say they love us. My first front person was Laura. Laura was my husband's office manager Monday through Friday. She worked for me weekends. Do you think she's going to dismiss his museum director? Probably not. So you look at the testimonial books on our tables. We all have them. They say, are we funny? Are we kind? Do we have specialties? Children, dogs, dead people? Were we accurate? Would they come back? But the final thing you need to do, seriously, check in at your heart level. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really care about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there, no matter how cool the wiki woo looks on the table. And if nobody rings your chimes, leave without a reading. There will be somebody else at another time, I promise you. And that's just simple information that people need to know, because you are right. There is no better business bureau for psychics.
Hmm. Yep. 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 You can say that again, indeed. That's right. So if folks are interested in that, just keep those things in mind. That's why discernment's required nowadays. Got to do your due diligence. You can't just be like, "Hey, let me do a Google search here." You have to.
Well, you can, but Lord only knows what you're going to get. I have a client who had somebody, and they seemed good and they seemed accurate, but then they started doing the, "If you don't give me money, I'm going to send Asmodel after you," the big demon. No, just no. That guy is a fake, a fraud. And if someone is so desperate that they have to threaten you with a demon, why aren't they successful at business? You can
Hmm.
take a little clue here.
That's right. That's right. The stench of desperation. That's right. Make a run for it.
Hmm.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
that's part of the problem with all the fake gypsies that you see, the ones with the skirts and the jingling jewelry and the bad accent. It's how I wrote this book. There, seriously, there was a 250 person psychic fair in Toronto that I was at, and there was a fake gypsy booth across from me. And we saw a woman who was walking down the aisle, and fake gypsy runs out. She grabs her. Now that's booking, and it's as bad as the other kind of booking. But the gypsy
Mhm.
says, "Oh, you don't need to pay 30, 40, $50. I rate your palm for 10. Come," drags the woman behind the screen. 20 minutes later, a bunch of us see the client leaving crying hysterically. We run over to see what happened. The gypsy had told her, "Oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? Four. You have dog. $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small. We fix." And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good. Only $1 candle. Her entire family was gone die in a car accident in 2 weeks. And the woman bought it. That's why I wrote this book. The subtitle is Good Psychic Guidance is Art. Don't Settle for a Forgery. And I don't care if you never come to me for a reading after you read the book. If I have helped keep you safe, no matter where you go, I did my job. It's that simple.
There you go. There you go. It's a message that folks are gonna need, definitely. Yeah, because those definitely the gypsies with the bad accents definitely could suck. Definitely could suck a lot. It's
Hmm.
like yeah, and and they probably feel so ashamed after being victimized, but was like, oh crap, I
They
can't
do,
tell
but
anybody
but
this.
the fake gypsies just go and count the money.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Mark of a level 99 professional indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so did radio back in the day, and then you also had your own online podcast back in the day too. So do you think you may ever jump on and do a podcast again in the future?
Well, maybe. The thing is, the one that I did for the radio crew that I did, I'm a really great interviewer. And, it's part of what makes me a good intuitive because I can really get into the head of the client or the person I'm interviewing. And it made them look wonderful. But what about me? What am I, chopped liver? And I realized while that was great for them, I would much rather showcase what I'm doing and the books I'm writing and the information that I want to bring across. And so for me, that's why podcasts are easy. And probably by the end of 2021, I will have done 300 this year because they're fun. They're just fun for me. And frankly, I love the different hosts because some people are terribly serious and some make a joke out of it and some really want to know what's up. And I'll tailor what I say and how I say it to what they need. That's always exercise. That's great.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Definitely could say that. I guess like a grass on Sparta status over 300 podcast episodes for 2021. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So heck, that'll lead me to my next question. So is there a question that you wish you be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on the microphone?
Oh, believe it or not, I don't think so because it's always a matter of what's right for the time. People always ask for the elevator story, and they ask for past life stuff. They ask for medium stuff, and what do cards mean? And that's fine. I have no problem educating at all. What I will tell you that I'm working on right now for book number 4 is we're calling it Elder and Apprentice because look, a lot of people are going to say, okay, boomer. And I understand why they do. Technically, chronologically, I'm a boomer, but I don't act like one. What's the problem with boomers? We had a sweet spot between 1945 and 1970, 1980 at most. And the world, we never worried that the world was not going to be livable. We never worried that the United States was going to be attacked on its own soil. We never worried that our neighbors would come at us with a gun legally because they didn't like our science or they didn't like our political stance. We were able to make a decent living because the inequality that we've got now, nowhere near. So to expect your millennials, your Gen Zs to behave the way we did and have the life we did is crazy. So any boomer that insists that their way was the right way and these darn kids, no, they're boomers. I'm an elder. Now, what's the difference? An elder knows that our time on the stage is coming to a close and we move out of the spotlight, encouraging the next generations to come on. We do have information that is useful, but we don't insist on hitting them on the face with it. If we're asked politely, we'll tell them. But if we can, we find that one shining light of a younger generation, and we will make it elder and apprentice. We'll pass on to them absolutely everything we know. We'll teach them everything we know. And I'm very lucky because 2 years ago, a 12-year-old, I'm very close with their family now, showed some amazing ability with cards. She's an empath, and she's going to be probably one of the best readers I've ever met by the time she's 20. So she and I are elder and apprentice. We bought some books for her. We bought Teen Psychic, we bought Teen Witch, and we looked at this and we said, this is trash. For one thing, they don't talk the way a young teenager would understand. And the adults who wrote the book kind of pontificated to them. That's not what a teenager wants. So Ula and I are writing the book together. She's the one who's going to be designing the exercises. A simple example. One of the other exercises was clear your mind, have no thoughts. And she said, were they ever teenagers? No teenager can just clear their mind. So, Ula envisions this little sea anemone with little fronds going in and out. And your thoughts are kind of like the clownfish that go in and out. Now, that's the kind of image that a teenager is going to be able to work with. So this is going to be a book that it doesn't necessarily teach, this is crystal, this is tarot, but how to get in touch with what you can do, how to stay safe, how to use it in the world. And it's a totally different way of learning how to use these sixth senses that we all have. Because I'm telling you, if you're listening to me talk, you can do what I do. I'm not special. It's just a matter of learning how to do it the way you would learn to play a piano. Some of us can play chopsticks and some of us are Elton John and some of us are in the middle. But we all have 10 fingers. Go learn. There are 7 billion people in the world, darling. I am not going to be able to read them all before I'm dead. Anybody who wants to do what I do, come on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Elder and Apprentice. That's what I'm talking about. And I always appreciate folks who are alive and willing to share some wisdom with the younger folks like myself, because, hey, we all definitely need, especially those who are ready and with willing open ears to listen indeed. Because, like, the thing is, you're so right. Like, it's a different time of living in that time, I believe, in the 40s to the 1980, I believe, at most. So it's so good that you're actually doing that, and it's really going to be one heck of a powerful book indeed. So what inspired you to do that? Like, how did you two even meet? Was it like at a conference or something? Did her parents like
Not at
come to
all.
you? Oh, okay.
No. Her parents run a third generation farm up the road. You see, you hear I live in New York, but I actually live the very tip of the Catskills. It's rural New York. My county has 30,000 people and a bunch of cows and sheep. And for a girl who grew up in Philly, it was a different planet when I first moved here. But her parents have a cafe, and I go there for breakfast every Saturday morning. And I'm known locally, oh yeah, she's the psychic. And so I usually carry a deck of cards with me. If somebody has a question, just throw them down. And Ula began to watch. She would ask questions and she'd say, what's that mean? And why did you say that? And it wasn't a casual. She was hungry. She wanted to know. So then got her own deck and we started teaching that way. And now we meet once a week. I am literally part of her homeschooling curriculum. And we learn about how to deal with the different generations. We learn about boundaries. We learn about what you can say and what you can't. And it is not just flipping some cards, but it's how to work in the world with different people. And I am learning as much from her as she is learning from me because I don't have kids. So this is absolutely fresh and wonderful. And I pay as much attention to her as she does to what I teach her. It's beneficial on both sides.
That's what I'm talking about. Indeed. That's right. That's right. Master and apprentice. Elder and apprentice. I freaking love it indeed. Because, hey, in a way, she gets to advance. She gets to basically metaphorically stay up all night, even though she was born yesterday, and you get to extend your youth.
Pretty much. It's very funny. People look at me and say, well, you didn't have kids. I go, yeah, that means I'm just the biggest kid in the room. So don't give me the diaper duty. Don't give me the rugrats. Give me your kids when they're teenagers and you want to put them in a barrel with a bunghole. Those are my peeps. I mean, I'm cool. I'm a psychic. I've written for ElfQuest for 10 years. And so I'm not going to look at them and say, did you do your homework? I thought no, that's not me. And I warn their parents, if you want your kid to come to me for a reading, I'm not going to mommy at them. I will encourage them to reach for what they truly want. Don't tell your kid she can't be an actress if that's what she wants. Tell her this is what you would have to do. You need your headshots. You need this kind of auditioning. You need this. Tell her. Don't just dismiss her. Because, too many times adults think they know what kids are saying because adults aren't listening. That's why I tell people they have to learn to be happy Martian detectives. Now, what's that mean? Don, if you had water coming out of your eyes, I might look at you and say, Don, why are you crying? And I could be wrong. A Martian who was assigned to go down and investigate planet Earth and knows nothing about us, he hops out of his little spaceship and he comes over and he looks at you and goes, why is there water coming from your eyes? And the Martian could be right. Because maybe you have allergies, or maybe your contact lenses are bugging you, or maybe there's an emotional basis. Whereas most people would just go right to the emotions. So when you accept that you may not know the entirety of a situation, you can change things. My favorite story. Client who had a wife and a child, he was in a bad car accident. His face kind of looked like spin art after they fixed it. He thought he was so ugly. One night he was putting his daughter to bed and she grabs his face and she smushes it next to hers. And she says, this would be a great picture, but it would be better if mommy's face were in the picture. Now, the old him who didn't think about Happy Martian Detective would have said, see, my daughter thinks I'm so ugly. Instead, he knew to ask, why would it be better if mommy's face were in the picture? And she said, because mommy can't hold the camera still and you take good pictures. Boom. Because he asked, he avoided a trauma that might have scarred him for life and found out his daughter still loves him. She just thinks he takes better pictures. Questions are magic if you ask them and you listen.
And oh man, this is hotter than fish grease, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right, indeed.
You're getting my Reverend talk, darling.
I'm all for the Reverend talk, indeed. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Be sure to leave an offering in the plate.
No, it's not that kind of rep. I am a non-denominational minister, and I got it for one serious reason and one kind of dumb one. I've been a minister for about 18 years. When I first got it, when I would go south of the Mason-Dixon line, very often it would be, you're doing the devil's work. I'm going to arrest you for fortune telling. I'd say, oh no, I'm a reverend. It's pastoral counseling. Oh, Reverend, I'm so sorry. You go right ahead. Boom. So it makes it easier in the South. And before it was the law of the land, I was an actress. I had a lot of friends who bat for the same team. And if they wanted sacred ceremony for a union, I was going to do it. Love is love. So that's why I became a reverend. And, it's kind of like sticking the little press pass in your hat in the old days. And it makes some people a lot more comfortable. They think that anybody who is a psychic is a witch or Satanist. No. I grew up a nice Jewish kid in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. No. So it's, these days, because when people ask me, I say, look, God owns the grocery store. And he does not care if you come in through the deli, the health and beauty aids, or the florist, just get in the store. So to work with me, I don't care if you're Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, pagan, or believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. All I say is you got to know somebody up there loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you. That's all. I mean, I did the cancer dance 3 times and came out on the other side, which is why I think there's somebody up there because I don't think I did it all by myself.
There we go, indeed. That's right, cancer dancer, y'all. That's right. That's right, cancer dance, indeed. So I'm assuming the dumb reason for the Reverend was for going down the South thing to get away from the crazies.
Yeah, well, I did shows, in Atlanta and things like that, and it was just easier. But I also like the fact that, I call myself a hedge priest in that you need a house blessing, I'll do it. I've done funerals for a stillborn. People need to know there's a connection upstairs. And if I can help them find that, that's just part of my job description. That's part of what Spirit's asking me to do to help people heal, to help people learn, and to help people move forward.
Wow, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. Sweet. Well, it's time to pop up this fun question for you. So, out of curiosity, before that, when the Elden Apprentice, when should we expect that book to release?
Well, we are trying to get the full fleshed out table of contents and the idea of it done by the middle of November. Then we're going to have to go find an agent, see about getting it published. I'd like to see it done 2023, so not that long. But book publishing does take a while, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, especially if you want to go the traditional route too. Yep,
Mhm.
definitely. So I guess that means the last most recent one is You've Got the Magic Who Needs a Genie, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
right?
Yes, it is. I mean, how many business books are there out there? A bunch. How many are written for people who do what I do? None.
Mm-hmm.
So the subtitle is an A-lister's guide to holistic expo success. And I give them everything that I know. Remember, I used to be corporate, so I can, as I say, stand on the twin mountains of business acumen and WikiWoo and make it work. But there are some things in there, a simple thing like you should have a sign-in sheet at your desk where people put down their name and their email and maybe one or two other things if you want. And people say, why is that important? And I said, okay, I'll tell you why it's important. Because, and this is part of my Corbie Gets Candid, um, there was a show in London, Ontario, where I read the guy in his early 20s and I did a good reading, but he didn't like what I said. Okay, fine. It happens. The next morning, I found an anonymous death threat on my table.
Mm.
Now, because I had everybody's handwriting on the sign-in sheet, we were able
Ooh.
to match the death threat with the handwriting. We figured out who it was, and I turned them both over to the promoter who went to the police, and they took care of it. You know, you think, oh, they're psychics. Everything is glurpy purple with angels. No, it's not. You got to pay your taxes. You have to know how to pay your front person. You have to know how to be professional with everybody else. You have to have a code of ethics. And so I said, look, I'm off the road now. When I was on the road full time like that, my nickname was the Travel Channel. But in the summer of 19, old lady, back injury. I'm fine now, but the doctor said, you're toast. You will not be in the car for 10 hours in one way, and you will not load in and load out anymore. So, but this is an example of how the universe takes care of me. That was November, December of 2019. It took me about 2.5 months to move my entire business online. What happened in March of 2020? The year of Hold My Beer. Everybody who was on circuit, there were no more shows. So they were all floundering. I did better last year than I had done on the road because frankly, there's less over. And I discovered I love being home to have dinner with my husband every night and have the cats snoring on the cat tree while I work. So will I go back on the road? Even if I could. It was time for me to come off the road, but everything I learned, I will pass on to the next bunch of people because there are always going to be psychic fairs and there need to be good, honorable psychics and healers and vendors that do them. So use what I know.
A powerful story right there too about why I need to collect emails and names, so that way you can protect
Yep.
yourself from situations like that. Because that is out of the blue situation that most folks wouldn't even consider or thinking about.
Yeah, that's why it was under the Corbie Gets Candid logo
Mm.
there. But yes.
Ah, sweet. Ah, so fun question then. If this book was a particular food item, what would it be and why?
What? You've got the magic? Um,
Yes.
oh, I would say it would probably be a good Scandinavian smorgasbord. A little bit of everything for you. And you can own, you don't have to eat the entire thing. Pick what you like.
Ah, love that answer indeed. Love the answer indeed. That's what I'm talking about. Sweet. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to
Mhm.
receive. And that is if you're
Yes.
the yeah. That's right, indeed. So if you're to wake up tomorrow, but you were 25 again, and you're in the current year with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Good God, child, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try to live up to what everyone else thinks you want to be. The only one who really matters in your own head is you, because that's what people will want to know. I mean, yeah, I had a great figure when I was 25, but boy, I did not have brains. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, hey, still looking fabulous at 66 and counting. So hey, it worked out.
Kind man you are.
Yes, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, for those who want to keep in contact with the wonderful Corbie and check out all of your wares, especially those who may be aspiring to be psychics and learn the ethical and right way to do it and be successful at it, what's the best way, folks, to do so?
Oh, well, they can't avoid me. They really can't. I'm all over the internet. Website is CorbieMitleid.com. Find me on Facebook at Fire Through Spirit. That's where I do a free reading hour once a month if you want to see how I work. YouTube, Patreon, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, all under Corbie Mitleid.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. The wonderful Corbie Mitleid, indeed, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. Reach out, sign up for the Patreon if you're interested. Indeed, check out her wares, check out her books. Indeed, folks, that's right. If you want some inspiration, if you want some business acumen with the psychic goodness, then she's got you covered like a blanket, y'all. Check it out. Indeed, check it out. Indeed. So, any parting words before we close up shop, Corbie?
Have a list of questions before you see us. Remember that, you're not cursed. You don't have a hole in your aura. No one is going to stop you from being successful. You always come and you say, this is what I need to know. Talk to me. And if it doesn't feel like this person had his brain in their head, leave. Stay safe. That's what I would tell you.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast to do something that'll take yourself to the next level. And for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also be inspired to be their best.